In all honesty, if you just want to have a spiritual experience, you just play that at full blast, you close yourself in your room, and you sing it and sing it and sing it. Trust, God will show up.
Yeah, but I won't sound as good as Karina. So there's that, and God might have a problem with that. So folks, I've had a privilege of coming to Unity on the Bay for over 20 years, right? And the reason that I stayed here, one of the many reasons why I stayed here, honestly, the main reason I stayed here is you folks, right? But the second reason were always the ministers, right? In a lot of other churches, they're held on a pedestal, and of course they deserve to be there, but they don't seem attainable or relatable. And at Unity on the Bay, that was never the case, right? Reverend Chris was always there to help. Reverend Juan is always there to talk to you, and so Ask the Minister was one of my favorite segments. So it's funny because I do this for a living, right? For a living, I sit in bed and I interview gay boys.
You should check it out. It's true, actually. I've been on that bed and on that show.
So we tried to get the bed on the platform and it didn't work, all right? So here we are, right? But, these are your questions, folks, right? And you can ask anything. And when do you get that ability to do that? I've never seen any other church do something like that. So first of all, thank you, Unity on the Bay, and thank you, Reverend Juan, for being so open. So let me say that Reverend Juan has not seen any of these questions, and they're also completely different than the first service, because for our first service, those congregants got the chance to ask, all right? All right, so he's answering off the cusp, and let's begin, okay? So your first question in Ask the Ministers, Reverend Juan, is from Angela, and it says, what is the best way to attain Christ consciousness? What is the best way to attain Christ consciousness?
For me, it's one, recognizing that it's within us already. And so the practice of mindfulness and the practice of exploring how we are showing up, I think that's part of it, to be introspective. And I think that's part of the Unity way of life, to recognize that we can always, and I try to do this as best as I can, check in about how I'm showing up, whether there was any harm that I created in some of my actions, whether to other people or myself, whether there was any way that I showed up that really made me feel like I was embodying the good that I am, or whether it made me feel like I was not fully embodying that. And that kind of awareness and that kind of introspection, to me, is sort of the path of recognizing that. I also really believe in the power of meditation. So it's like both of those things together, right? One of them, meditation, allows me to feel and know that Christ consciousness, and the introspection is what invites me to always be seeking to more fully embody it.
I love that. Yeah. Isn't that a great answer? Yeah.
Well, and by the way, I just want to mention, I'm sharing my responses, and my trust and my hope is that each and every one of us checks in, right, about whether what I shared resonates with you or it invites you into a deeper essence of those questions, because I think that's the power. Mm-hmm. That's the power. And that's the beauty of Unity also, is that we have some principles and we have some ways in which our way showers and individuals that we see and trust have been able to live into them. And it's a very individual, personal experience of God and of Unity.
All right, I love this next question, okay? This is from Lauren Paris. Thank you so much for the question, all right? Why do some parts of the Bible seem hateful towards women, gay people, and how do you interpret those parts? Yeah. I'll repeat it again, okay? Why do some parts of the Bible seem hateful towards women and gay people, and how do you interpret those parts?
So first, Laurent was one of the individuals that asked one of those questions that we did for, and the Bible said? No.
What?
And the Bible said?
What?
Right, so I love that you're exploring that, Laurent. For me, it's like the Bible is another expression of human consciousness. And so each of us have shown up in ways that may not fully align with the truth of our being. And the same goes for the writers and some of the stories that are in the Bible. And the beauty that I see is that God's grace is always present. That doesn't mean that every expression or everything that takes place is quote unquote good. It means that because there is grace, we can find some good within it. And I believe that even in those stories that came from a human consciousness of separation, trying to define God, trying to understand our relationship with and in God a little bit more, sometimes, it was clearer than others. And metaphysically, because of grace, there is always something to glean, and there's a greater truth that we can find in them. And so I think some of those, by the way, if you're just not interested in it, put those stories to the side, right? And find the stories and the teachings in the Bible that really resonate with you. And I think some of those stories are the most powerful because we can reinterpret them, we can reimagine them, and we can glean what essence was really trying to show up and how it relates to our understanding of God. It's part of our own healing, I think, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Now, this kind of feeds into the next question, right? Why are there no Bibles here at Unity on the Bay? Someone actually wrote that, okay?
Well, maybe because they're in back order. I don't know.
The tariffs. The tariffs got the Bibles on back order. You know what I mean?
That's so funny. One, maybe they're in back order. Two, it's a central book for us. It's a sacred text for us, and it's not the only place that we can find spiritual truth.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it. And I would say that I would feel as comfortable in having the Bible here as having sacred texts from other world religions, because they all can be seen through the lens of this is leading me to understand myself, my relationship to God, and God more fully. And there is a version of the Bible that is the one that Unity uses. And many of you know, we may not have the Bible, but you see a lot of Bible quotes here, right? Because it is central to who we are.
Okay. Next, I love this question. How do I not get frustrated? That's the question. I do all the right things, yet I still don't feel like it's enough.
Well, that's without knowing more. Well, actually, how many of us feel frustrated sometimes? How many of us feel like we're not doing enough sometimes? Okay, so why? Because it's part of the human experience, right? And I believe that it connects to what some people would call a core wound that we've had, which in Unity we would say that one of the deepest core wounds that we are healing from is this belief that we're not worthy and that we are not one with God. And in us thinking that we're separate from the divine comes the frustrations, comes earlier in the service, in the first service, there was a question about perfection, and could we ever attain perfection? And my answer was, we're already perfect. We're just walking our path to remembering that truth. And so the frustration is simply that, to me, can be simply that. We're wanting to experience truth, and it may just be taking a little bit longer, or we may be getting in our way. And listen, how many of us have been in a place where we haven't acted in alignment and haven't acted from our best self, and we haven't been frustrated about it? So kudos to us when we don't act in alignment and we get a little frustrated, because it makes us rethink how we're showing up and allows us to step more clearly into the ways in which we do want to express our worthiness, perfection, and the love that we are. So maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just a sign that there's something there to explore.
I love that. I love that. Reverend Juan, if you weren't a minister, what would you be doing?
I mean, probably, a dancer and a musical and singing on Broadway. I might be governor. I don't know.
All of those, right?
Except the people that sit over here, they're like, yeah, no, you're not going to be on Broadway. It's amazing to me. Like, I found my calling. And I hope that all of us find our calling. And when you find your calling, all the what ifs or others, like, fade away,
Yeah.
And I do believe that being a Unity minister has allowed me to bring a lot of what I'm passionate about, whether it's social justice, connection, how we relate to each other, and some great singing on Sundays, all combined into one.
I thought you were going to say comedian, but okay. Oh my God. All right. The next question is from an anonymous person, all right? What is your opinion of...
Oh boy.
What
When it's anonymous,
It's okay. It's okay. We're in a safe space, so that's all right. What is your opinion of other churches or pastors where LGBTQ communities, especially the trans community, get negatively criticized?
I think it's a missed opportunity and it's a misunderstanding. It's a misalignment of truth. And while there's a part of me that wants to judge it, I know that my role is to show up the way that I believe God is seeking to be expressed through me, and that we're all on a journey. And I've had my prejudices, I've had my misunderstandings. I think it causes harm, and I think that we are all a part of healing that harm. And so it's unfortunate, and it's also the path to greater understanding and moving into all of us coming into oneness, or our awareness of oneness with God.
Okay. That's our minister. Yeah, that's our minister, right? Reverend Juan, were the founders of the Unity movement as progressive as the current? Would they approve of the current directions? Does it matter?
I think it matters in the sense that I think history matters, right? And looking at where we come from, like individually, like what we've been able to like move through and grow through, and the movement itself. There are many ways in which our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, were extremely progressive. I mean, just being in Kansas, outside of Kansas City in the late 1800s, saying, wait a minute, there's a different way of relating to God. Right? There's a deeper truth that is taking place here, and I don't have to take the teachings or the history of my forefathers. I can create my own relationship to God. I think that's one of the most, if not the most progressive thing that we can actually do. Recognize that we have an individual relationship with God, and no one gets to say whether it's right or wrong. So that, to me, is progressive.
Right.
And everything evolves. I've evolved, the Unity movement has evolved, religion is evolving, humanity is evolving, and so there are some things that I wouldn't necessarily agree with. I think that if given the chance, the Fillmores, in that progressive way of exploring life, would come to understand our values and our principles in an even greater way.
Okay.
And it's all a work in progress.
It's all a work in progress. Yeah. And that kind of leads into this question that we got from Nicole online. Thank you for watching online. And it was saying about how Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were vegans, were vegetarians, right? So the question was, if this was the basis of the Unity movement, when did we stop encouraging this? Or at least taking care to ensure that all celebrations are plant-based?
Gee, I wonder if that's the Nicole that leads our vegan small group.
Almost positive. Oh, sorry, Nicole. Anonymous. Sorry, Nicole. Sorry.
Again, things evolve and change and shift, and that doesn't mean that Unity doesn't have a space for that, and there's an understanding. It's also an understanding that all of us connect to the principles and live into the principles in our own way. And there are many people that are vegan. I mentioned this at the first service. If you look at some of the original Unity writings, for example, not just veganism and vegetarianism was central, but also the belief in reincarnation, which we don't talk about that much here. And partly it's because we provide the support of principles and the values that we hold, and then we invite everybody to check in and see where they're at with it. And Charles Fillmore, although he was vegetarian for most of his life, he actually did start eating fish towards the end. And when somebody questioned it, he just, when you know spiritual authority, and somebody questioned it, and he just said, Spirit guided me. This is where I'm at now.
And who's going to question him after that? I mean, right? Spirit guided me to this.
Yeah, but again, it's just a continual evolution, and I do believe that there is a place and an understanding of how we value all life, including animal life.
Okay, fantastic. Reverend Juan, what are 3 things that you can't live without?
Oh my gosh. Unity, my family, and my connection with the divine.
I love that. All right, fantastic answer,
Yeah.
right? Please explain the unity solutions and interpretation of grief.
Ooh. I think that they're not very separate from our understanding of any challenge or difficulty or tender and vulnerable moment that we experience in life, which is that all of it can be a spiritual practice. There's actually a little booklet that we sometimes provide to individuals who are going through grief, and it's called Grief as a Spiritual Practice, because in many ways that grief is just love expressing itself. And all of it, even the most tender and vulnerable and hard experiences, because of grace, right? There's something there that can invite us to remember our oneness and remember our truth and remember how worthy we are of not only love, but of feeling that love and feeling everyone's presence with us. And so it's another life experience that can bring us spiritual grace.
Your next question, Reverend Juan. How do you stay faithful to unity principles without falling into toxic positivity, like bypassing?
Well, I'm so grateful that nobody thinks I'm falling into it's been a journey. When I first started coming to Unity, God is good all the time, God is good. And I still own that. And my understanding of it is different. Back when I first came to Unity, it was almost trying to keep blinders off of anything that didn't feel or was good, And in Unity, some people say, turn off the TV, don't watch the news, don't be informed about things that are going on in the world because they're not good, right? I have come to realize again this understanding of grace. And I don't have to believe that everything that happens is meant to feel good or to be experienced as good, but I can always seek what good can come from it and what good is trying to be birthed through it. And so in that, there's positivity, because I get to experience those situations from a different vantage point that says there is some good trying to show up here without having to negate the hurt, the harm, and the ways in which it plays with us sometimes.
I love that. Here we go. And one of your last questions, okay? And then we're going to do our speed round. How do we live, hold on. ¿Cómo eliminar la culpa, okay? How do you get rid of guilt?
Yeah. Let me know. No. It's so funny, actually.
He doesn't lie to us. He does not lie to us.
But that's one of the things that I'm sitting with, right? We talk about no guilt or shame, right? And there have been times when I felt some guilt in my life that I haven't allowed it to stop me, but actually to nourish me. The moments I feel guilt, there's something here. I didn't show up the way that I wanted to show up. That doesn't mean that I have to make it shameful about who I am. That just means that I can recognize I didn't act in the best way possible. And without taking it on and all of a sudden being weighed down by the guilt, I can actually use it so that I can check in and show up in a different way. So I would say that if we are feeling any sense of guilt, just try to have a different relationship with it. What is this trying to show me rather than making it about me? And that's the difference. Brené Brown talks about that. You know, there's a difference between guilt, which is about an action, and allowing it to become shame, which is about how we see ourselves. And so work through meditation, through forgiveness, work on the shame, and maybe just have a different relationship with guilt. Don't make it so wrong. Make it something that's coming up so that I can show up differently.
I love that. I love that. All right, now, yeah, you can clap, please. And so now we're going to end our Ask the Ministers with a speed round, okay? I do this on my show also, and it's a quick, rapid fire. He only has 2 options to choose from, all right? All right? All right.
How dualistic of you, Faye.
Here we go. Pitbull or Bad Bunny?
Pitbull. Because I'm from Miami, yo.
Wynwood Walls or Little Havana?
Wynwood Walls.
Sandals or sneakers?
Sandals all the time.
Popeye's biscuits or Cuban bread?
Cuban bread. I'm a pescatarian these days.
Disney or Universal?
Oh. In my oneness, I will take both.
Salsa or merengue?
Ooh, merengue.
Roller coaster or lazy river?
Roller coasters all the way.
Pizza or tacos?
Pizza.
Pastelito de guayaba or croqueta?
Croquetas.
Suit and tie or guayabera?
Oh. Sandals.
He knows that when he leaves the house with sandals and I'm around, I'm like, oye, pero ¿qué pasó? Beyonce or Lady Gaga?
Oh.
Ooh.
I do not want to cause any issues at Unity on the Bay, so I will say power to both of them.
All right, all right. Give it up for Reverend Juan and Ask the Ministers 2025.
Thank you, Faye.
Oh my God, you're very welcome. Oh, that was fantastic. All right, let me get my card.